Hey guys, this is Matt Ranger, aka VodkaHaze for CardRunners, and today we're going to be doing part 2 of the Heads Up Mid-Stakes PLO match review, which focuses heavily on the stats and how to use them. If you just have a really short attention span and you don't want to be bored through stats, skip ahead something like 20 minutes and you should get right into the footage. For the other people who actually want to learn stuff, then you're welcome to bear with me. Alright, so as I said in part 1, part 2 is much later on in the match. I think it's like 4 hours or like 3.5 hours into the match. And Villain is really tilted and asked for 2-4. And I obliged, obviously. It's really funny because usually fishes who get beat down at like 1-2 and then ask for a 2-4, 3-6, or even 5-10. And then you're like, cool, okay, let's go, let's play 3-6. And they just disappear into the night because they kind of want to win the mental battle of, well, if, I can play 3-6 and you can't, so you're a pussy even though you won at 1-2, but 1-2's for pussies. Anyways, so yeah, props to this guy. He asked for 2-4, took him up, and we played. And like I said, he was really tilted. I changed my strategy or my overall game plan in the match, maybe like half an hour or 40 minutes in, which is kind of a long time for me to adapt, but I decided basically to trade in the max EV plays to kick up the variance, because I felt that I really had an edge on him as far as emotional control and tilt control goes. So that, like, if I lost 4 buy-ins in like 10 minutes, I'd take it pretty well, whereas I think he'd tilt off another buy-in. And that EV is pretty huge. Added to the fact that he 3-bets 37% even when we're deep, and that just leads him to make massive mistakes and massive pots out of position. So there's a bunch of upsides to playing really high variance at 100 BB stack sizes when you're against people who 3-bet a complete ton and kind of spew around post-flop, and then just kind of, shut down and then play more reasonable when you're at 200 and 300 BBs. So yeah, that's what I did. I basically started 3-betting like 23 to 25%, which is to say, like, I 3-bet as much as I could while thinking that every hand I 3-bet was plus EV by itself. Like, I'm not gonna make some minus EV 3-bets for the sake of, like, balancing my range or because I just want to 3-bet a lot. I mean, if it's neutral EV and it kicks up the variance, fine, but you really never want to make an individual play that's minus EV for the sake of your range. That's usually just wrong, both from theory and just from, like, the simple hands perspective. All right. Rambling aside, I've rambled for 3 minutes already. We're going to get right into this. So the first tools is kind of useless. Let's go to pre-flop. So we're just going to try to see, now that this is a pretty large sample, I think it's about 2,000 hands total, or more, like 1,900 heads up together that we played. And so we're going to look for leaks. And what I consider a leak, to be honest, is anything I would not expect someone playing a Nash equilibrium strategy to play. And obviously I'm going to get some guys watching the video and saying, like, well, it's poker, how can you make perfect plays if, there's the other guy and he's playing in some way that you don't know? Well, there's such a thing as an equilibrium in any two-player game that is zero-sum, and poker is heads-up yellow, as far as I'm concerned, is part of that whole thing. And if you want to argue with that, you're basically arguing with John Nash, who won a Nobel Prize for proving that there's a perfect strategy in a game like Heads Up PLO. And he also had a movie made about himself for that, so good luck. So obviously no one knows what the GTO strategy looks like in Heads Up PLO, but we can make smart guesses and just try to, work with those. Also, like, if you're looking at your own stats over like the last large sample, like maybe 80,000 hands or 100,000 hands, and you see like you have a stat that's out of line, like, don't fall into the trap of thinking they don't apply to you specifically. I know that's happened to me in the past. Like your C bet is like 77, and you're like, well, I know that's too high, but I mean, I'm exploiting people. Like, really? Are you? Because over really large samples, you're going to play all types of people from, over aggressive to under aggressive. So your stats should always converge towards something you expect to be GTO. So if you're playing a style that's different than what you think you should be playing in a GTO play, then beware. Because, I mean, if you actually think that that's better than playing like, the right c-bet amount or whatever stats you think is out of line, you're basically saying that like you're exploiting the whole player pool by doing something differently than someone who plays perfect would do.